Hi, welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Book summary of Feeling Good by David D. Burns. By learning how to restructure your negative thoughts, you can learn to control your emotions. Your thoughts are responsible for creating your moods. Depression is caused by thoughts that are dominated by a pervasive negative attitude. Nearly all of the negative thoughts that lead to depression are accompanied by significant cognitive distortions. There are 10 cognitive distortions that can cause your thinking to be distorted. When you are feeling worthless, one of the most common mental distortions to be on the lookout for is all or nothing thinking. A cognitive therapy approach is based on 3 guiding principles. Cognitive processes, also known as thoughts, are responsible for the formation of your moods. A cognition is defined as the way you look at things, including your perceptions, mental attitudes, and beliefs. It includes the way you interpret things, what you say about something or someone to yourself, as well as the way you perceive others. It is because of the thoughts you are having right now that you are experiencing depression. When you are depressed, your thoughts are dominated by pervasive negativity. The negative thoughts that are causing your emotional turmoil almost always contain gross distortions. Despite the fact that these thoughts appear to be valid, they are irrational or simply incorrect, and this twisted way of thinking is a major contributor to your suffering. Each negative emotion you experience is the result of distorted negative thinking. The development and continuation of all of your symptoms are directly related to your illogical pessimistic attitudes. Whenever you are depressed about something, try to recall a corresponding negative thought that you had just before and during the depression, says the psychologist. Why? Due to the fact that these thoughts are what has caused your bad mood, learning to restructure them will allow you to improve your mood. It is entirely dependent on how you perceive things that determines your emotions. Difficulties with the mind. Think in terms of all or nothing scenarios. Individual characteristics are evaluated in terms of extreme, black or white categories. Perfectionism is founded on the concept of all or nothing thinking. It causes you to be fearful of making a mistake or being imperfect because you will perceive yourself as a complete loser as a result. This makes you feel insignificant and unworthy of respect. This type of perceptual error is referred to as dichotomous thinking in the scientific community. Overgeneralization. You come to the arbitrary conclusion that something that happened to you once will happen to you again and again. Overgeneralization is responsible for the vast majority of the discomfort associated with rejection. Filter in the mind. You single out a negative detail in any situation and focus solely on it, leading you to believe that the entire situation is negative. Depressed people wear a pair of eyeglasses with special lenses that filter out all of the positive things in their environment. All of the information that you allow to enter your conscious mind is detrimental. Given that you are not aware of this filtering process, you come to the conclusion that everything is negative. Selective abstraction is the technical term for this process, and it is a bad habit that can cause you a great deal of unnecessary anguish and suffering. Positives are disqualified in this manner. You can turn neutral or even positive experiences into negative ones by transforming them first. The practice of disqualifying the positive is referred to as reverse alchemy by Burns. It is one of the most destructive forms of cognitive distortion. Jumping to conclusions is a common occurrence. When you jump to conclusions, you make an arbitrary decision to reach a negative conclusion that is not supported by the evidence. The terms mind reading and the fortune teller error are 2 examples of jumping to conclusions too quickly. Reading people's minds. You have the impression that other people are looking down on you, and you are so convinced of this that you don't bother to look for evidence to the contrary. Fortune-telling is a form of divination. You have a premonition that something bad is about to happen, and you accept this prediction as fact despite the fact that it is implausible. Both enlargement and reduction are possible. When you magnify, you are looking at your mistakes, fears, or imperfections and exaggerating the significance of those things. This has also been referred to as catastrophizing because it involves turning everyday negative events into terrifying monsters. When you minimize, you inadvertently shrink things to the point where they appear insignificant, such as your own desirable characteristics or the imperfections of others. The binocular trick is another name for this technique. Emotional reasoning is a type of reasoning that is based on emotions. You rely on your feelings as evidence for the truth of the matter. If you believe that you are a dud because you feel like a dud, your logic is flawed. Your feelings are a reflection of your thoughts and beliefs, not the other way around. Should statements are used. In an attempt to motivate yourself, you say things like I should do this or I have to do that. Labeling and mislabeling are 2 types of labeling. Labeling refers to your proclivity to construct a completely negative self-image based solely on your mistakes and shortcomings. Mislabeling is the tendency to describe an event using words that are both inaccurate and emotionally charged, as opposed to using accurate words. Personalization. In situations where there is no justification for taking responsibility for a negative event, you should refrain from doing so. Because your emotions are a result of your thoughts, your emotions cannot be used to prove that your thoughts are accurate. According to Dr. Aaron Beck, a depressed self-image is characterized by the 4 Ds: depressed, 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 and depressed. Defeat, defection, desertion, deprivation. The only thing that determines how you feel is your own sense of self-worth. When you are feeling worthless, the most common mental distortion to watch out for is all or nothing thinking, says the author. How to improve your self-esteem. 1. Respond to your own internal critic. Self-critical thoughts should be recognized and written down as they occur in your mind. You should also learn why these thoughts are distorted and practice talking back to them in order to develop a more realistic self-evaluation system. 2. The triple column technique should be used. After a negative thought has occurred, stop and consider what thoughts are going through my mind right now. What exactly am I telling myself? What is it about this that is bothering me? 3-column technique, also known as triple column technique. 3. Make use of mental biofeedback, MBF. Use a wrist counter to keep track of your negative thoughts. Each time a negative thought enters your mind, press the button on your computer. Once you've completed your daily score, record it in a logbook at the end of the day. Notes, continued. When you're feeling down on yourself, consider what you're really trying to say when you label yourself with a negative label such as a fool, a sham, a stupid dope, or something similar. Once you begin to dismantle destructive labels, you will discover that they are arbitrary and devoid of meaning. They actually exacerbate the situation by causing confusion and despair. Once you've gotten rid of them, you'll be able to define and deal with any real problems that may arise. When you are upset, do the following. Concentrate on those automatic negative thoughts and jot them down. Go over the list of the top 10 cognitive distortions to help you understand them better. Learn exactly how you are twisting things and blowing them out of proportion, and substitute a more objective thought that contradicts the one that caused you to feel low about yourself. Your feelings are a result of the meaning you assign to an event, rather than the event itself, says the author. When you make irrational should statements, you are assuming that you are entitled to immediate gratification at all times. The 2 guidelines that follow will assist you in determining when your anger is beneficial and when it is not beneficial. Is my rage directed at someone who has knowingly, intentionally, and unnecessarily done something to cause me pain? Is my rage of any use? Does it assist me in achieving a desired goal, or does it simply cause me to fail? In order to avoid disappointment and frustration, rewrite any rules that contain the word should or shouldn't that have caused you disappointment and frustration. Instead of should, use the phrase it would be nice if. You are not entitled to receive what you desire simply because you desire it. When it comes to guilt, remorse or regret are directed at one's actions, while guilt is directed at oneself. In the words of the American Psychological Association, sadness is a normal emotion created by realistic perceptions that describe a negative event involving loss or disappointment in an undistorted manner. When someone suffers from depression, it is always because their thoughts have been distorted in some way. When a genuinely negative event occurs, your emotions will be solely shaped by your thoughts and perceptions, and nothing else. Your emotions will be influenced by the meaning you assign to what has happened to you. The distortions in your thoughts will be responsible for a significant portion of your misery and suffering. You will find that coping with the real problem becomes less painful after you have eliminated these distortions. While your distorted negative thoughts will be significantly reduced or completely eliminated after you have recovered from a bout of depression, there are certain silent assumptions that are likely to still be lurking in your mind after you have recovered. These implicit assumptions explain in large part why you became depressed in the first place, and they can also assist you in predicting when you might be at risk of relapse. A silent assumption is a mathematical equation that you use to determine your own personal worth. It represents your personal philosophy, your value system, and the foundation upon which you place your self-esteem. In the event that you are feeling down, choose an activity and, rather than aiming for perfection, try for 80%, 60%, or 40%. Once you've completed the activity, observe how much you enjoy it and how productive you become. You are mistaken in your belief that suicide is the only or the best solution to your problem, says the psychiatrist. The thinking that you have when you believe that you are trapped and hopeless is illogical, distorted, and skewed. In my experience, nearly all suicidal patients share an illogical sense of hopelessness as well as the conviction that they are confronted with an intractable problem. You will experience significant emotional relief once the distortions in your thinking have been identified and corrected. According to Burns, your feelings of hopelessness and total despair are only symptoms of depressive illness, not facts. Burns follows a rule of thumb that states that people who feel hopeless never are hopeless in the first place. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.